Hey ladies, this is Mocha Mommy here bringing you another video, and this one is about working it while you're doing your work. Too often I hear Black women say that I'm not in the dating market yet because I'm just trying to work on myself. I'm trying to do my work. I think I need therapy and there's a lot that I'm going through. And ladies, this is where you're making your mistake. This is where you are making a big mistake. By not putting yourself out there early, you're not developing the social and the dating skills that you're going to need when you do get to that right place. I also want to let you know that you're setting yourself up for unrealistic expectations. You're never going to be perfectly thin. You're never going to be perfectly ready. Your money's never going to be perfectly right. And you're never going to be perfectly established in your career. What I am saying is that you can find like-minded people who can support you on your journey. A really good conversation initiation tactic I would suggest is to go to a coffee shop. Doesn't really matter which one, as long as it's not a major chain. Look at the guy directly behind you if he's standing alone and ask him, I've never been to this coffee shop before. What do you suggest? Then order his suggestion. Take a sip of it, turn around, and say, thanks, that was such a good choice. That opens the door for conversation. You don't look thirsty, you don't look desperate, but you just look as if you're someone willing to just open the door to converse. These are the types of basic soft skills that I want you to go out and try.
Listen, ladies, some of you guys are so critical of these women that you quote-unquote call pick-meshas, these women you call quote-unquote Dustianas, these women you call quote-unquote thirsty Thelmas, these women, whatever these women are that you are always quote-unquote mammies, you guys are always so critical of them, not realizing that by you not being in the game, you're a step closer to being one of them. Why? Because they're thirsty. They have no skills, they have no self-esteem, they don't have any external validation other than what they get from these dysfunctional relationships. And because you're not out there seeking functional ones, you are a step closer to being one of them. You sitting over here being judgmental. Nobody wakes up in the morning to be a Dustiana. Nobody wakes up in the morning wanting to be a pick-me when they grow up. It's something that happens because they're not out there flexing that muscle that helps you build self-esteem. They're not out there flexing that muscle that helps you learn how to build connections. They're sitting back doing their quote-unquote work and then end up desperate and thirsty for the first thing that gives them any kind of breath of attention. And then they end up falling into these dysfunctional cycles because they don't realize how to get in the game. And what's what I am telling you, get in the game now. Therapy is not cheap. Let somebody buy you dinner a couple of times so you can afford your therapist deductible, all right? That's what I'm trying to say to you. Stop sitting on the sideline. I'm going to highly recommend, I'm listening to a podcast right now, the Jordan Harbinger podcast. He's available on Audible. I found him through Crystal and Karazin's Pink Pill YouTube channel. And let me tell you, this man puts you on game. This man puts you on game. So for those of you guys who are doing your work, listen to this guy because he's got a lot of really good techniques that can help you navigate people and develop those people skills and to stay away from the toxic ones. He's got one about how to deal with narcissists and how to identify psychopathy so you can avoid it. Come on now. Who needs that more than Black women? Who needs to know how to deal with narcissistic personalities and avoiding psychopathic tendencies more than Black women? Get on that podcast, ladies. Not to mention, this is the type of guy whose mindset you want to learn. So that this way, when you're in spaces with these type of men, you know the topics that interest them. You know the skill sets that they possess. You know their goals and trajectory. He talks a lot about personal branding. He talks a lot about written communication. So you know, if you want to meet a man of that caliber, okay, I need to make sure I'm up in my writing game. I need to make sure that I'm building my own side business and I'm talking about branding because this is what this type of man wants, right? So that's why I'm going to encourage you to get out of these manosphere spaces and get around real men. And you're not going to do that by sitting on the sidelines, quote unquote, doing your work. You're going to do it by getting out there working it. Because there's a lot of men right now who are looking for someone. This quarantine has taught them their priorities. It has shifted their priorities. Because once upon a time, they were able to go out and go to the bars and meet people and hang out with friends. Now they're coming back home to their lonely apartments and realizing that, you know what? Maybe people are more important than possessions. Maybe I might need to develop myself personally and not just professionally. And these guys are in the game, and you're not, because you're sitting on the sidelines doing your quote-unquote work. Do your work while listening to Jordan Harbinger podcast, because you know what? It's work, and also it's vocabulary, so you know what they're talking about. Talking about doing your work? Watch Jaspreet sing and watch Clark Howard. Fix your budget. Fix your budget so that when you meet a guy who's financially savvy, you already know how to detect it. All right? Also, use these guys as vetting. Right now I'm reading Green Lights, Matt McConaughey's autobiography. It's really poetic and very prolific. I did not know he was a poet, which was really interesting. But also, he has a lot of very introspective...
These men are successful, they're knowledgeable, and they ask a lot of pertinent questions. Use the benign but pertinent vetting questions that these men teach through their budgeting, through their business building, and through their own introspection, and work those into conversations. Learn how to nuance it. Learn how to sandwich these questions between other questions so that you don't seem so invasive. These are really good vetting skills.
Let me give you an example. There's one girl who I know who is currently out in the dating market, right? And she has some skin problems. She has had very severe acne since it started at maybe at age 11. So she has been battling acne for a while. And now that she has a steady job, she has been seeing dermatologists and the statisticians to get her skin together. And she has been open about that journey as she's been dating, as she's talking to guys online, FaceTiming, and having Zoom dates. Wouldn't you know, she had a meetup with a guy, and the guy bought her a gift. He had admitted it was his first time ever being in Sephora, and he bought her Olin Henriksen, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'll look it up and put it in the description. But a skincare system. Now, it was about $120 value, but he probably paid $50 or $65. You know how Sephora is, right? So basically, by being open and doing her work to get her face together, this man ended up gifting her the skincare system that she's on. That's what I mean by working it while doing your work. A lot of men struggle with their skin too. If you wouldn't think by listening to these manosphere Negroes that all men are perfect, right? They're not. And a lot of them are afraid to walk into a Sephora. A lot of them are afraid to ask those questions. A lot of them are afraid to be vulnerable about their skincare challenges, their weight loss challenges with other men. But they can do that with a feminine woman. So if a man can't walk into Sephora saying, I'm having problems with my acne, I'm having problems with skin, but he can walk into Sephora and say, hey, the girl that I'm dating uses product X. And is it good? And what should I get? And then he can get his skincare questions answered too. See how that works? It benefits them and it benefits you. While you're doing your work, to go and work it. A lot of these guys are on fitness and weight loss journeys. Do not let the hoodies and the baggy jeans fool you. They are not body confident. So when you are doing your work, they can go and take you out to the juice bar. They can eat a salad in front of you, saying, well, this is for my girl, this is for my girl. They can go take you shopping for your meal prep and buy your groceries for you. Because they're like, my girl, she on this, whole salad and kale thing. They can say that in front of their boys. They can't be like, I'm insecure about my weight. That's why I'm saying work it while you're doing your work. I'm going to tell you something about myself. I was talking to a guy, and it wasn't serious. We were just talking, and it was clear that it wasn't going to work out. So I said, one of the women who was in my unit at the time, because I was still active duty at this time, and I was stationed overseas. One of the women in my unit is like, are you going to cry and eat some Haagen-Dazs? Are you going to cry and eat Haagen-Dazs by yourself? And I'm like, no, I'm going to the spa. And now, I had never really been to the spa before, but I was going to go to the spa, honey, and I was going to treat myself. And my husband was not, we were kind of like acquaintances. He was kind of in my circle. We weren't dating or anything like that. But he had known that I was going to go to the spa that weekend and made it a point to kind of like bump into me. To this day, over 19 years later, you know what? Every time there's Christmas, Mother's Day, birthday, Valentine's Day, when I open that card, there's a gift card to go to that spa, to go to the spa. When we moved to this area, there was like an Aveda spa in our area, and he is there so much that now he gets rebates and promotional offers because he's always buying me a spa gift card, a massage, a facial, a spa pedicure treatment. He's always getting stuff like that and putting them inside of my cards for birthdays, Christmas, Valentine's, whatever, Mother's Day, whatever. He's always doing that, to the point where now I'm getting free stuff because I set that precedent for myself while I was doing my work of vetting men and finding out that the guy that I was putting that time into wasn't worth it. Guess what? Another guy saw it. Hey, she's a spa. Spas is what she's into. And now I'm a frequenter there. Our family is frequenters there. They see our last name, they recognize us. I get discounts when I go buy Aveda products because my husband set that precedent. Because I set that precedent for myself. Because while I was doing my work of vetting, I was able to work it into getting a man who now sees spa days as something that is my standard. That is why you guys need to get off of the sidelines while you're quote unquote doing your work. Listen, I might sound harsh in my tone. All right? I might sound like I'm coming across as being too judgmental. But I am telling you, when you are complaining about what you're not getting, it is because you are not putting yourself out there. And I say that in every single video. That your biggest problem is not what black men are saying about you. Your biggest problem is not being out there changing the narrative. Your biggest problem is not your weight, is not your appearance, is not your femininity. Your biggest problem is not being out there putting into practice what it is you learned. You will never be perfect. Newsflash, you will never be perfect. You will never be perfectly thin and fit. You will never be perfectly feminine. You will never be perfectly financially secure. The only thing you can do is while you're on that journey is to find like-minded people on that journey with you. And you will not do that by not putting yourself out there. You will not do that by not putting yourself out there. You're never going to have perfect credit. You are never going to have a perfect body. You will never have perfectly clear skin. You will never have the perfect job. You will never have the perfect game. But the only way to get there is to put the effort in and put it in now. You may never, ever personally and perfectly heal from your past childhood trauma or poor relationships. But how are you going to get new, better communication techniques and better at recognizing red flags if you're not putting yourself out there? Get in the game and work it while you're doing your work. Work it while you are at your best and on your journey to being there. Stop playing the victim. Stop waiting. Stop being armchair quarterbacks, waiting from the sidelines type of women who are not in the game. Listen, the perfect man might arrive in your life, but you will never recognize it without the right skill set. The perfect man might arrive in your life, but guess what? If you don't have a conversation initiation skills, to keep him and engage him, then you're not going to get that man. You're not going to land it. If you don't have good active listening skills now, which is a feminine trait, a very feminine trait is being a good active listener, you're not going to land that masculine man. Because you're too busy arguing the daggone manosphere. You're too busy arguing and defending yourself against men who will never, ever be what it is you need for yourself. So stop arguing them and let's step up and step out. Work it while you're doing your work, because it doesn't matter. You're never going to be perfect enough for them. And they're never going to be man enough for you. So cut the ties now. Work it while you're doing your work. This is Mocha Mommy, and I'll see you in the next video.